such as stealing American companies' intellectual properties. The new measures impose retaliatory tariffs on about $60 billion in Chinese imports. On hand for the signing was Lockheed Martin CEO Marillyn Hewson, who oversees the Pentagon's most expensive weapons system, the fifth-generation F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. "We buy billions and billions of dollars worth of that beautiful F-35, Trump said before asking Hewson, whom he introduced as Marillyn Lockheed, to say a few words. Hewson, who didn't react to Trump's mix-up, said intellectual property is the lifeblood of the defense industry and welcomed the action taken by the Trump administration. "This is a very important moment for our country, in that we are addressing a critical area for the aerospace and defense industry, and that is protecting our intellectual property," Hewson said. The F-35, the crown jewel in the defense giant's portfolio, had its sensitive design and electronics data compromised in 2009. Chinese hackers were believed to be behind the cyber intrusion. While the U.S.-made Lockheed jets are believed to have better computer software, sophisticated sensors and sensitive stealth coding, the theft of intellectual property gives adversaries the opportunity to avoid the expenses and delays involved with research and development. Meanwhile, China announced it was developing a fifth-generation fighter, as well. China's stealth Shenyang J-31 jet bears a remarkably striking resemblance to the F-35. Before the J-31 and the F-35, however, there was curious case of the J-20 and the F-22. In another instance of alleged industrial espionage, the prototypes of China's Chengdu J-20 stealth fighter jet looked suspiciously similar to the sleek design of Lockheed's F-22 Raptor.
What's your message to investors as the US market resumes trade?
Well, certainly all the fundamentals in the market remain very strong, and we've just seen a continual uptick. So a one-day adjustment, I don't see any change. The benefits of tax reform that we're seeing in the United States, we're going to continue to see strong growth.
Have you been worried about this happening, though? Did we see this coming?
Well, I think anytime you see day after day rise that gets ahead of itself, the chance for an adjustment is always there. So I don't think anyone was particularly surprised.
Let's talk about the Singapore Air Show and why you're here. I wanted to focus specifically on the F-35 program. About 265 of those fighters have been delivered internationally now. What's the demand that you're seeing in the Asian region?
Well, the demand is very strong. We have three partner countries already with Australia, Korea, and Japan accepting deliveries, and we anticipate further strong demand as the outstanding performance attributes of this airplane become more evident to the users.
Where's that new demand going to come from?
I think it's going to come from all of our partners, certainly. We're seeing the European countries that have been part of this program since the beginning now starting to get their deliveries. The key to any program like this is getting it into the hands of the flyers, and that word of mouth about the performance, the incredible capability this plane brings is what's going to sell it around the world.
And one of the unique aspects of this year's show is that we've seen the Trump administration actually send a foreign military sales representative to be here on the ground and to have those conversations. Right. So do you think that Asia is going to be a growth region for you, particularly when it comes to those defense sales?
Well, certainly we appreciate the administration's strong support for foreign military sales. We really can't do it without them. And so we need the advocacy of the U.S. government to help us get the releases we need to sell products, but also to explain to our allies why they should buy American products.
And for the past 16 years, as I understand it, Singapore has been a buyer of the F-16. What's happening with the F-35 program and Singapore? Are they going to be bringing this plane on board?
Well, we've been a partner of the Singapore Air Force for their entire 50 years, and we anticipate those kind of partnerships going on. Whatever decisions and evaluations of the F-35 Singapore will make, that's up to the Singapore government, and we'll support them in any way we can.
And, you know, Singapore has been a real hallmark buyer and a hallmark supporter of Lockheed Martin. So are you surprised that the government hasn't been quicker to make a decision on this program?
No, I think these decisions, the one thing I'll say about Singapore, and one of the reasons we're so happy to be here, is Singapore is considered a very, very smart buyer. And when Singapore does their process, which is very transparent, very thorough, we view that when they buy something, that's a great endorsement. So we love doing business here and like to do more.
Any idea on when we might get a decision from the government on that?
That's not for me to say.
So let's talk about defence spending trends in the region more broadly. How do you see defence spending changing over the next 10 to 15 years, particularly with a focus on Asia?
Well, I think certainly we see the threats that are emerging, and with Lockheed Martin, we have a portfolio that is unsurpassed by any other company. And so as those threats emerge and change, we're able to address those. So I see continued growth in the region. We're seeing budget planning going up in most countries, and I think it's going to be a very strong market driven by world affairs for the next few years.